We're talking construction, we're talking housing, we're talking about deficit and making sure we multiply housing units for a lot more people. And we know that Ghana may be battling with a housing deficit, but its construction industry is really putting up with a brave fight. And investment in infrastructure, rapid urbanization and a growing housing deficit continues to place demand on the country's construction sector. But in all, industry players are anticipating a boom that could also signal a change for the industry. Well, as we get ready for the annual Habitat Fair, AM Business turns its focus on this thriving construction sector.
In just a few months' time, this project will be completed. The engineer is driving workers to meet the deadline after the onset of rains have affected work.
It's about 15 workers.
Oh, okay.
We have 10 masons, we have 5 or 6 masons.
Oh, okay.
Hello, Charlie, hold on eh?
Building projects like these are a common sight all over the city nowadays. The construction industry has been booming at least in the last 15 years.
The construction industry is almost in every economy. It's the engine of almost every the development in any developed environment. So certainly, if you look at Ghana in general, we look like we set for an upward movement in terms of our development. So I'll say that, yeah, what you've said is true. The construction industry is picking up. People need houses, and we already are in deficit. I mean, I don't know how much you know about this, but almost every government that has come in has identified a certain deficit in the housing stock that we have. And so people are trying to fill that gap. And that is why it appears as if there's a lot of construction activities going on. I personally think that it's not even enough. We still a lot more that needs to be done.
Projects like the Airport City 1, the $400 million Kotoka International Airport Terminal 3, and many other real estate projects springing up across the city is a clear indication of the significant growth in the industry. This is, however, not without challenges. The sector currently employs about 320,000 people, with the potential to employ close to 1 million in the next 10 years if the growth trend is anything to go by. The World Bank, however, projects a skills gap of 250,000 artisans and tradesmen by 2020, a development that needs to be averted.
Currently in Ghana, we have to be importing tradesmen from neighboring countries like Togo. Masons, carpenters, tilers, painters are all imported generally from Togo because Ghana currently lacks that quality. And the reason is that there is not an institution which trains and certify those tradespeople. So most of them pretend as if they are tradesmen, and they are not able to provide the necessary quality of the industry. Now, with these high-rise buildings, one will expect that you have a lot of local capacity undertaking these projects. But unfortunately, you have only a few construction companies doing this, and that is not too good for the country. The government currently is talking about 70% of local content in procurement, specifically in construction and other related areas. If there is no deliberate attempt to grow the sector, this will be a mirage.
Opportunities for the indigenous, for the host national, for Ghanaians themselves, would be taken up by people who are seemingly seen as skilled. But the truth is the people are skilled. They are, the competency they have built, they have sharpened it extremely well. That is the truth. And if that continues to happen, it means that group of people will tend to dominate the market. And our young people will not have the opportunities, or our artisans may not have the opportunities. But you see, if our young people, or if the Ghanaian market can think of building the capacities of the skilled labor we have here, and if the skilled labor, in quotes, we have here, are prepared to upgrade their skills, that would be very helpful.
Beyond skills challenge, another single big barrier to the booming industry is the lack of financing for players. Indigenous construction firms have over the years lamented the difficulties in access to credit, and the high cost of credit is unduly affecting their operations. According to them, as opposed to their foreign counterparts who usually access funding at relatively low cost from home countries, Ghana's high lending rates regime simply makes them uncompetitive. Also affecting their operations, they say, is delay in payments for government projects they execute.
The sector here in Ghana, those large projects, they are mainly government, oriented. And so you're asking yourself if it is. And the characteristics of those projects is they don't tend to pay on time. The loan or the credit facility that this indigenous construction company has taken means that would go beyond the deadline. And when that happens, the interest rates keep accumulating. Now, when they accumulate, the governments do not. I'm using governments so that it doesn't look as if it's one peculiar government. The different types that have happened over the period. They are not prepared to pay that cost of interest that has accumulated. So these companies tend to see challenges extremely.
Currently, what we find in the country is that local contractors are not paid interest on delayed payments. Yeah, where provision is made for in the contract documents. Unfortunately, government contractors suffer this. Contractors work for in Ghana, particularly in the government side, public sector space. They do not honor these obligations. Unfortunately, local Ghanaian contractors are not able to claim for the interest on delayed payment for fear of victimization. Yeah, and those are some of the woes of the sector.
The dawn of a new financial institution, the Construction Bank, poised to take on the financial challenge, may help improve the situation.
I think basically we are going to have a group of professionals in-house who understand the sector better and know how to finance it. Okay, so that we don't just adopt the traditional approach of you want a facility, go and bring your property or something, some collateral. But we will look at the project itself and look at how we can finance it as you go along, so that the project itself becomes like the collateral. That's how real estate, especially, is financed all over the world. So that is what we are bringing in there. But the problem they have is not all just the banks, okay? Is it because of this economic situation in the country where in the past contracts are given and are delivered, but payment is delayed, okay? So when a bank supports a project like that, and that happens and there is default, then the appetite to do more is considerably reduced. But I think we are coming at a time when, if you look at it, the economic fundamentals are improving. And the message we hear from the government, with support to the private sector, I believe that those are going to combine when there's that kind of commitment. After all, government is a major spender in any economy, and once government finances are in order, I believe that we can be able to support them more and more effectively and efficiently because of how we are going to have real professionals, with both local and international knowledge to support the entire construction industry.
The need for a regulatory body to streamline activities in the sector cannot be overemphasized. Many believe this should seal the deal in repositioning the industry to boost its contribution to the country's socio-economic development.
Ghana's construction industry outlook currently looks promising, even though it has a lot of teething problems. The opportunities for growth are there. What we need is a couple of policy improvements. Key among the issues will be the need to have a construction industry development authority, which will champion all construction industry development related issues in Ghana. We believe that with the setting up of this body, which we have been advocating for some time now, if this body is set up, all the policy gaps, all issues that are militating against the growth and development of sector will be dealt with, because currently there's no single authority that sees to the growth of the sector. Works and Housing Ministry, which is supposed to be the parent ministry for construction in Ghana, doesn't do beyond registering of contractors. They only register contractors, and that is the end. And even with that, the contractors that they register are only limited to the public sector. But for the private sector, you don't have anybody really ensuring that there is good contractors, there are certified contractors to undertake private sector projects. And these are some of the policy issues that must be addressed.
The growth potential for Ghana's construction sector is being boosted by the relationship with other industries like oil and gas by way of infrastructural demands. It is, however, up to policymakers to take the right decision to make this a reality.
Boss, boss? Yeah. Okay. So as the industry is growing, there is the need for authorities to actually come up with conscious efforts to set up a regulatory authority to streamline activities in this sector to ensure that the full gains of this industry will be obtained. Reporting for Joy Business from East Legon, it's Sheila Tamaklo.
And I've loved the report. We hope that you've loved this segment of AM Business. And we'll have to bring you the same edition of AM Business, same time next week, Wednesday. But next, we're having AM Talk. We have in the studio legal practitioner, former member of parliament for Bantama, Henry Kwabena Kokofu. And he will be in a seat alongside legal practitioner as well and a former member of parliament for North Dying, George Lowe. And we'll be having great discussions on many issues. Well, do stay on. When we come back, we'll do great discussions on AM Talk.
AM Business was